we're going to be talking about culture. A good culture is when the players buy into it and they're holding each other accountable. Culture just isn't something that hangs on the wall or printed on the shirt. It's what your players expect. The best teams have leaders that are players that you don't need a coach babysitting them, holding their hands. They just take that leadership themselves. It's a living organism. You can see it and you can tell when those teams show up. They have it. They have culture. Welcome back or welcome to the 3-0 Green Light podcast, where baseball, coaching, teaching, and leadership come together. I'm your host, Ryan Reisdorf. Every Monday for about 10-15 minutes, we'll reflect on a lesson from the past week, dive into one coaching or leadership idea, and then we'll finish with something to help us attack the week ahead. So whether you're headed to the ballpark, you're headed to the classroom, or the office, it's time for us to step into the box. You've got the green light. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about culture, and we're going to start by reflecting on the first time where I realized how culture will show itself. So obviously culture, it's one of those things where it's almost like, what is it? It's always talked about, but really, what is it? I think it's one of those things where you really can't pinpoint what culture is, but when you see it, you kind of know they have a good culture or they have a bad culture. As a player, when I was going through high school, as a freshman, I was part of the football team. Our football team at that time, they were perennially fighting for state championships. I remember going to the weight room. This was the year after they went to the state championship. They lost in the state finals that year. And then as a freshman, a lot of those players returned, and then we were going into the weight room. So I'm 14 years old, going to the high school weight room with 17, 8-year-old, young adults that are sitting there that just played and competed for a state title the year before. So that culture was there. You walk into that weight room, if you were sitting down, if you were not working out hard, they were players that were coming around and they were going to hold you accountable. There was no exemptions. Didn't matter if you were young, if you were new, if you couldn't bench just the bar, you were going to participate and you were going to work your butt off while you were in there. I remember the leaders doing it. L.C. Rossman was one of the leaders of that football team. My older brother, A.J. Reisdorf, was the leader of that football team, where it was expected that you were going to work your tail off inside that weight room. You were held accountable. That is when I saw culture. I knew, all right, this team is different. This is why they have success. The coaches were there. Coaches would get after you as well. But a good culture is when the players buy into it and they're holding each other accountable. So that's the first time I saw culture and what it is and what it actually is to look like. So you might be able to reflect on that first time that you may have seen culture live out. And it all looks differently when you might have seen that. So our main topic that we're going to dive into in our green light section is culture isn't a slogan. Okay. And I think that's where people kind of get tripped up, is that you're going to say, all right, here's what we are about. We'll put it on our locker room walls. We'll put it on the dugout. We'll put it on a t-shirt. That's great. You can have that. I know I've had in the past, I talked about agape with my teams. Agape, it's a type of love. It's what Christ type of love he self-sacrificially laid himself down, that type of strong love. Okay. And then I broke that down, and agape means attitude, grit, accountability, passion, and excellence. It's great. It sounds wonderful. But if the players and myself don't live that out, if we don't know what those are, it's just a slogan. They're not going to buy into it. And I thought the players I had at the time, when they had that, they were holding themselves accountable. Okay. I also had another slogan: be dangerous. Whatever you're doing, specifically on a baseball field, whether you're squaring around for a sacrifice bunt, be dangerous doing it. If you're early steal, delay steal, be dangerous doing it. And if you really pour into those players, this is how we're going to play, they are going to start believing in it, and they're going to start holding each other accountable for that. And it becomes a living organism in itself, where every part of those players are connected to it. So that's what culture kind of is. You can see it. I've seen it on high school baseball teams or college baseball teams. You can survey the field and you know what they're about. It's no longer just printed on their shirts. It's no longer just a logo in the locker room. It is actually what they are. They live it out. They breathe it. So culture just isn't something that hangs on the wall or printed on the shirt. It's what your players expect. So if you're a coach and you're trying to instill a program that has great culture, you need to know the players need to expect something from that. Okay. They need to know what you're looking for that culture. Okay. Obviously, if you are a winning program, there's going to be something in that that is saying, hey, we expect to win. If your culture is good, you're going to go about it differently. You can have great players come through and have success winning, but is it sustainable? There's local area high school baseball teams that I see, the Norwells, the Carrolls. They might not have the top players every year, but when they do, watch out, they're going to be good. But even when they just have steady players, they're consistent. They're still going to play and compete for that sectional title every year. That's what they expect. Their cultures demand that. You can see it how they show up to the field, how they play the game. Those are just two that come to mind. There's a lot of area high schools that are changing cultures, and you can see the start of the climb of their baseball programs take off. DeKalb, it's a rival of East Noble. That is one that is starting to have that culture shift where they are now, their expectations, this is where we're going to be. So it's something that you need the players to understand. And then those players know this is what we expect. Here's what we need to do to carry that out. Okay. So it's also what your teammates tolerate. If you have teammates that are not doing the best they can in practice, if they're being lazy, lackadaisical, another teammate's going to call them out, just like LC Rossman would call me out in the weight room when I was a freshman. He is demanding this is what it's going to take. If you want to be a state champion, if you want to be considered one of the best teams in East Noble High School football, you need to do this. This is demanded of you. So it's not what happened when coaches are around. The best teams have leaders that are players that you don't need a coach babysitting them, holding their hands. They just take that leadership themselves. So that is culture. It's a living organism. You can see it and you can tell when those teams show up. They have it. They have culture. And then you vice versa, you can see teams that do not have culture. You can just see, all right, they don't have very much standards or high demands for their players. It is what it is. There's no culture there. So just as much as you can see that program has it, you can see programs that don't. And so there's a way that you need to start to change. If you're a program that isn't, how can you do that? Okay. There are going to be different things where there's leadership, there's coaches clinics, there's everything that you can do. But one of the main things is time. I think time is one of the most valuable assets that you have on earth. So the amount of time as a coach that you pour into your players and your program, they are going to reciprocate that. They are going to know, all right, it takes time. Whether you spend an hour at practice or 3 hours, if you're present and you're focused and you're demanding in that hour and you're getting the best out of your players and you're connected with them and you're teaching them, pouring into them, and you get the best out of them for that hour, they're going to come to expect that. That's the culture and demands. If you have to do it for 3 hours, whatever it is, if you're showing up and you're putting in the work, they are going to reciprocate that and pour much or equally, if not more, than what you pour in. But if you have no demands, if you're not putting in that time, you're not going to expect that player to pour in just as much as you would want them to. It's up to us as coaches, as the leaders of programs, to demand more. And then eventually they know that standard, and then those players start holding themselves accountable in that. So as we start to break down and we start to look at how can we do that, okay, we need to really think, how can we change our programs? Is there one specific thing, one standard that we need to change to make our culture better? Is it our practices? Is it just how we pour into our leaders of the program? You have to try to figure out what is our weakest point, because if your weakest point is so far bad, you need to tighten that up and bring that back up to where everything else is. So figure out what is our weakest point as a staff or as a head coach. Survey your players, survey your assistant coaches. What are we weakest at right now as a program? So you can figure that out, and then you can start implementing things to make that better. Because if we're not looking at our flaws, how can we look at to get better? I don't go to the doctor, say, hey, tell me how healthy I am. I'm going to a doctor, hey, my back hurts. How can I get my back better? So go to your players, go to your assistants, go to your athletic director. Hey, we're struggling with this. How can we get better at this? It's okay to know that you have failures or you have struggles, but you need to get better with those, or you're just going to fall way more behind and it's going to become even more dormant. So think about that. Hopefully you're challenged. And then you also just know, hey, there's no wrong place to start. If you took over a brand new program, the culture's not there. Or if you're a coach that, hey, I'm taking over a program that's already had culture. How do you keep and sustaining that? Because it's going to be one of those living, breathing organisms that is going to make sure your program has success. Well, I appreciate you spending part of your Monday with me. Hopefully, today's episode challenged your thinking, helped you grow in a little bit of shape or form. And I'd appreciate it if you would share it with another coach, teacher, or a leader, someone looking to help themselves grow a little bit. And then kind of think, what standard have you allowed to slide lately? And I appreciate you guys stopping in. Until next Monday when the next episode drops, hope you guys continue to reflect, learn, and lead. And as always, you've got the green light.